Airport 3444, contact channel first 125.63.
Hello and welcome to the cockpit of FS Mania's flight from Bozeman to Bowerman. If you're just now joining us, we're level at flight level 320. We're just now crossing the Yakima VOR en route to Bowerman, and we're just about ready to begin our descent. And so, but have a few things we want to discuss and talk about a little bit of the scenery that we're seeing, some of the mountains and things. But Citation 6656, descend and maintain, flight level 190. Out of 320 for 190. So first things first, let's fly the airplane. And let's get over here and dial down our new assigned altitude of 190. So we're 150 miles or so. Tough little click spot here, there it is. We're about 150 miles from our destination. And at about 5 miles a minute, we're going to need about 30 minutes to descend. That's 190, there we go. 190. We're going to need about 150 miles or so to descend at 1,000 feet per minute. And let's out select, there we go. And I know we're going to want to increase the rate of descent to about 1,000 feet a minute. There we go. And I'm going to ease back on our power just a little bit, keep us from overspeeding. So, okay, back to my math. Yeah, we're going to average about 5 miles a minute. We're doing faster than that right now. We've got a ground speed of about 380 knots. But when we are in the descent, we should average around 5 miles a minute. So we've got 1,000 feet a minute. We need to come down about, well, close to 30,000 feet. So we need about 30 minutes. So that's 30 minutes times 5 miles a minute. It's 150 miles. So we're about 150 miles out now. And that means that we need to start our descent. So we have done that at 1,000 feet per minute. And we'll just kind of keep an eye on our speed and make sure that we keep our power coming back so that we don't overspeed. And of course we have a warning if we do. We want to try to keep our speed up as fast as we can so that we'll get to our destination. Our next waypoint is Ratty. We can see over here on the multifunction display. And while we were en route, I went ahead and set up some things in the radios. I've got the ILS for runway 24 set up in nav1. I've got the Hoquiam VOR set up in nav2 for the missed approach, and I've also tuned in the Unicom frequency for Bowerman, as well as the ASOS, which is the Automated Surface Observation System that we should be able to pick up somewhere around when we get to the Olympia VOR. So we'll see if we can get a frequency change and maybe tune in on that. So while we're here in the descent, and I think I will ease back on that power just a little bit. While we're in the descent, if you look out of the windshield there, you can see there's a mountain rising up way higher than everything else around it. That is Mount Rainier, which tops out about 14,000 feet. To be exact, it is, I've got it written down somewhere, 14,410 feet, Mount Rainier, which is in near Seattle, Washington State. And to the south of that is Mount Adams, which tops out about 12,000 feet. And then way further to the south, and we might not can see it because of the wing right now, is Mount Hood, which tops out at 11,299 feet. So three mountains sort of in a row there. And then there's a mountain over here off to the side, and that is the famous Mount St. Helens, which erupted back in 1980, and a major eruption. It shot plume and ash up to about 80,000 feet, It killed something like 57 people, and it had the largest landslide in recorded history that reached somewhere between speeds between 110 and 155 miles an hour, I believe, going from memory. So major eruption, Mount St. Helens, and the whole north face of the mountain basically fell away and fell down the mountain. So, but yeah, there's Mount Rainier, and awesome mountain, beautiful mountain. Went to Seattle once, hoping to see it, but it stayed cloudy for 3 days, and I didn't get to see it until we flew out of Seattle and we climbed up above the cloud deck, and it was up above the clouds. I could see the top of it. So awesome mountain, 14,000 feet. Yeah. And our route basically takes us around that mountain, more or less. So we're just monitor here. We're coming down through flight level 280. Doing nicely. Let's just check our ground speeds, 374. So everything looks good there to me, coming up on Ratty intersection. And while we're here in the descent, a couple of fun facts about Hoquiam. I think one thing, the name, I may or may not have mentioned it already. It's an Indian name that means hungry for wood, and lumbering is one of the main economic resources for Hoquiam. They're also very big into athletics and sports, and in fact, their high school team is their high school Grizzlies. The Crimson and Gray is a major source of rivalry between them and the neighboring town, Aberdeen. In 2004, the boys basketball team completed a perfect 28-0 season and won the state 2A championship. Congratulations to the Crimson and Gray Grizzlies of Hoquiam High School for that. They also, since 1981, Hoquiam High School has hosted the largest distance running event on the Washington coast. The Grizzly Alumni Association cross-country invitational features 35 plus schools and 1,000 plus high school runners every October. So fun stuff happening there in Hoquiam. I was looking over the list of notable people who have lived in Hoquiam, and just take an eye out on where we are here. So we're 12 miles from Ratty. Ground speed's 377. We're going to ease back on that power some. Starts.
Sierra 0 traffic. Cherokee 2 Papa uniform taking off runway 16.
Okay, we're going to fix that. Do a little housekeeping here. There we go. Okay, that's the Unicom frequency. So we're picking up other airports along en route here. So as we're looking at the awesome Mount Rainier, I was looking over the notable people who have lived in and around Hoquiam over the years, and there's a fairly substantial list of politicians, and there's an Army general, a congressman, representatives, and mathematicians, physicists, authors. A pretty good list of people, none of whose name I recognized, but there was one name that did stand out, the gentleman by the name of Jack Elway. He was a football player and coach, and I had not necessarily heard of Jack Elway, but I had heard of John Elway, and I wondered if they may be related, and lo and behold, Jack Elway is John Elway's father from Hoquiam. And John Elway, just FYI, was born in 1960, not necessarily in Hoquiam, but that's just where his dad was from. And John is a former American football quarterback. And he, at the time of the writing of this particular article that I read, he was the general manager and executive vice president of football operations for the Denver Broncos in the NFL. And Elway played college football in Stanford And he spent his entire 16-year professional career with the Denver Broncos. At the time of his retirement in early 1999, Elway recorded the most victories by a starting quarterback and statistically was the second most prolific passer in the NFL history. He led his teams to 6 AFC championships and 5 Super Bowls, winning his last 2. And then he retired while he was on top. He went out on top. Awesome quarterback. Way to go, Jack Elway from Hoquiam, Washington, and for having such an awesome quarterback. And I'm sure he had a lot to do with it since he was a coach and a player himself. Beautiful scenery here. Just look at the clouds there around Mount Rainier. Just awesome, awesome scenery. Lest we forget, though, we are in a descent heading into Hoquiam, and we want to make it in one piece, so let's just see where we are. Coming through flight level 230, and we're about 50 miles away now from the Olympia VOR, and about there we should be able to start picking up the ASOS. So we'll ask for a frequency change somewhere along in there, see if we can pick that up. I'm going to zoom in over here to try to get a little better view of our course. Like I said, we have right now VOR1 is our source here, and we've got that ILS is tuned in there. So what we're going to do is fly the route that we programmed into the FMS. We're going to fly that all the way up to the final approach course and then switch over and fly the approach. I do need to remember to fly direct once we pass Olympia. I do need to go ahead and put in a direct to the Soupy intersection. So lots to do here in the descent, besides just look at the beautiful scenery. There's Mount Adams in the distance. I've lost Mount St. Helens. I think it may be over there, potentially. But Mount Rainier is the king, and then off to the right is the Olympia Mountains and Mount Olympia, and I think it tops out. It's over in this area, and I think it tops out around 8,000 or 9,000 feet. Nowhere near as tall as Rainier. There's our overspeed, so we're going to go ahead and ease that power back. Thank you for that kind warning. So our descent checklist, one thing we want to do is go ahead and it calls for us to take care of a few housekeeping items. We're going to go ahead and start heating up this windshield with the bleed air. So we're going to bring this fan on up into high. And we also need to set our pressurization down to our field elevation, so let's do that. Start bringing this cabin down. Field elevation is roughly sea level, and all of a sudden we're not. There we go, because we're at sea level. Yeah, altitude, cabin altitude 0. Yeah, that's where we want to be. Okay. Yep. So that should bring us down to 0, and we'll have 0 differential pressure. That'll be good. Airflow distribution in the cockpit, we want that to be set here. Flow distribution in the cockpit. We don't have an ATIS to check. We have set our nav radios up, and our fuel, let's see, we've used about a little over 2,000 pounds, and we've got about that much left. So good on the fuel. We have enough on board to fly to Seattle if we have to fly a missed approach. There's 1,000 to go. Citation 6656, contact Seattle Center now on 123 905. Over to center on 2395 for 6656. We'll go ahead and flip them up here. Seattle Center, citation 6656, descending through 19.5 for 190. Citations with request. What is your request, 6656? Yes, sir. We'd like to get the ILS-24 approach into Hoquiam to Bowerman. 6656, roger. Descend and maintain 1000. Down to 1000 for 6656. Yeah, I meant to ask for that approach when I checked in, and it slipped my mind momentarily. So we stumbled through it and got it, and we're back to our fun little click spot. Don't know why they can't make click spots bigger. It could be much bigger, 1000. There we go. And we'll need to reset our out select. And let's keep our rate coming down about like we are. About 1,000 feet a minute. And let's check in on our speed, see how we're doing. Ground speed 344. It's a pretty good speed. And we'll go ahead and reduce our power back and start slowing us up. We'll come back to about 70%. And getting closer to the VOR. We're going to come down through 18,000. Don't really know exactly what the altimeter setting is. If I use my B key, right now it stays right where it is. This doesn't really read right here. It's 29902. It looks like 2092, but it's this one's 1013 millibars. So I think that's what it should be, but I think it's just something screwy there with the thing. And let's see, ice protection is going, we're going to leave that off. We got our pitot-static heat on. So we're good to go in the descent. We've got about a 50 knot crosswind now, so it's not hurting our ground speed any. Just we are 10 miles now from Olympia. Center 6656 request. Citation 6656, go ahead. Yes, sir, we'd like to leave the frequency, check the weather. Citation 6656, frequency change approved, report back up. 6656. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can get that weather. 135775 is the ASOS. And let's see, I've got that up on nav too. Let's put this one up here. We'll see if we can pick it up. We should start hearing it here soon. So we're descending down 16.6 right now. Coming up on the VOR. About 5 miles away. There it is.
Mike, automated weather observation. 1649er Kilo. Wind 224 at 8. Visibility 8. Sky conditions clear. Temperature 13 Celsius. Dew point -1 Celsius. Altimeter 3017. Kilo Hotel, Quebec. Mike, automated weather observation. 1.
Okay, we'll use that as our Unicom frequency. And let's see, we'll go ahead and go back to COM2. Bring that down right there. Center 6656, back up. 6656 center descend and maintain 2,500. Down to 2,500 for 6656. Okay, he's getting us on down. It's where we need to be. We're pretty much coming into sea level. Come on, click spot. I hate wasting time flying an airplane on something like this. You know, when you're flying a jet, you really need to stay ahead of everything. So, Carenado, fix that click spot. Make it bigger. You got plenty of room over there. Okay, coming down to 2,500. Let's bring our range in here. And we are 37 miles away from Soupy. And we're descending through 14,000. And I'm going to go ahead and get some lights on, just to stay ahead of the airplane a little bit. We'll bring on our recognition lights and landing lights. We'll cut them on. They are, I think they're not going to be on until we actually lower the gear, but we got our recognition lights on anyway. That's the main thing. And then we won't have to fool with those when it is time to lower the gear. Let's see how we're doing on speed. So ground speed's 300. Airspeed's 240. So we're going to go ahead and bring that power on back now. Start getting slowed up for our approach. So I think we'll come back about 65% or so. Okay, one thing we need to go ahead and do is go direct Soupy. So we're going to go ahead and pick that. Direct Soupy and enter. And let's go ahead and increase our rate of descent. And let's get some speed brakes out and start slowing this thing up. Yeah. We got to get down. Soupy's only 6 miles away and we're still at 12,000 feet. So we'll go ahead and get us coming on down. Speed brakes are out. And we need to get our altimeter set. Let's go ahead and pull these back in. And altimeter was 3017. 3017. There we go. And let's cut off our engine sync. And 3 miles from Soupy at 11,000 feet. We really got to get ourselves down. Let's go ahead and pull this power on back. Let's get these speed brakes in, and I'm going to go ahead and increase that rate of descent. We'll get down there. So we're descending now almost 2,000 feet a minute and indicating 180 knots. And when we get to our 2,500 foot altitude, we're going to want to make sure to add some power back in so we don't get too slow and stall up. And we should start our turn now at Soupy, and when we do, we're going to want to go ahead and let's set our heading in here at 286. And we're going to go ahead and go to heading mode. That's good. And let's make sure we got nav source up here. Let's set that on VOR1. Okay, that's good. There's the ILS and there's the power. That was the gear warning, not the power. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and get a notch of flaps in. coming down through 8,000 feet. Citation 6656, you're 3 miles from the initial approach fix. Maintain 2,500 until established. On localizer, change to advisory frequency approved. Report IFR cancellation of this frequency on the ground via flight service. And I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to the approach mode here. Arm that. Waiting on the localizer. Coming through 7,600. I'll ease that power on back. Let's get us slowed up a little bit more. That gear warning sound goes off again. Actually, we'll go ahead and drop our gear. Helps get some drag out there. There it is. And we should start it turning inbound to intercept the localizer. I can see I'm above glide slope right now, but we're dropping at a pretty good clip here, 2,000 feet a minute. Let's bring our range in here. And let's flip over to the advisory frequency, which is, we've got that in there. We just need to bring it in COM 1. Keeping an eye on our glide slope starting to come in. Airspeed's about 140. Bowerman Unicom, Cessna Citation 6656. We are 10 miles out. Say you're active in traffic. I'm going to start slowing that descent up just a little bit. Which will be bringing our airspeed down. And we should start intercepting that glide slope, and we are set up on the approach. So everything's looking good. I'm going to add some power back in, keep us from getting too slow. Citation 6656, Bowerman, winds favoring runway 24. No reported traffic. Okay, understand winds favoring 24 and unreported for Citation 6656. And we're about 12 miles out. ILS 24 approach for Bowerman. Don't see the runway yet, so we'll just stay in here. We are on glide slope, a little bit right of course. Everything's looking good. Just keeping an eye on our speed right now. I do think we can go ahead and ditch those speed brakes. There we go. And we got some pulse lights. We're going to want to go ahead and put those on. Pulse lights are on. Come back on our power. Let's start slowing up. Okay, a lot happened really quick right there. Got very busy. Realized when we switched over to Soupy that we were closer in than I anticipated, so that's all right. This airplane will descend very nicely. And this is DME is on the Hoquiam VOR, which is about 8 miles further away. Here we are 9.8 miles from the localizer, and yeah, airspeed's dropping off. We've got 1 notch of flaps in at this point. We'll go ahead and add in another notch of flaps, and just a little bit more power. We're just a little below glide slope. Now just watching the airspeed indicator over here showing that we're just a little bit slow. Looking at the angle of attack indicator. So going to bring in some more power. Get back up to that glide slope. And I do see the runway lights ahead. So final check. Gears down, 3 green. Landing lights are on. Ignitions need to be on. Passenger safety on. Getting a little bit fast. Let's ease off on that power some. That's the wind noise I'm hearing on the flaps and gear. We should get a call out at 500 feet. We're 1,000 foot above the ground right now. On glide slope, on center line. A little turbulence here on short final. Bowerman traffic, citation 6656, 4 mile final, runway 24, Bowerman.
Glide slope 500. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope.
I should have canceled it.
Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope.
I'm going to go ahead and take over from George. George isn't doing such a great job here.
Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide.
All right. And we've got the field made. We'll go ahead and come in with full flaps.
Minimums.
Easy there, baby. Reverse thrusts, spoilers, and brakes. I think we got stopped in a hurry there. We didn't need all this 5,000 foot of runway. Squeaky brakes. Spoilers retracted. Flaps coming up. And we'll take this taxiway exit right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bowerman Field in Hoquiam, Washington. Please keep your seatbelts fastened until we've arrived at the destination. We won't call it a gate. It's not exactly a gate. All right. Let's just stop right here. And we don't want to go back that far. Okay. And let's clean up the airplane. So, we made it. Let's look down here and let's just take off some things. We can go ahead and bring our ignitions back to normal. We can get our recognition lights, leave those on. Let's take off the anti-collision lights, and landing lights, we'll leave those on. And I have a checklist for this. Let's just see so we don't miss anything. Flaps are up, speed brakes retracted, external lights as required, ignitions are normal, pitot static. We can go ahead and cut that off. And de-icing is off, and we'll put the radar on standby. We don't want to fry anybody up there. And we'll taxi on in from there. Cut that flight director off. Flight director is off. Okay, well, we made it. A little nip and tuck there at the end, but you know what I'd like to say? Any landing that we walk away from is considered a good landing. Get this thing taxiing quite. We don't want to be doing 60 miles an hour. Ground speed right now is 16, just looking down at the display right here. Feels a lot faster. So I've got the power back about as low as I can go with it, and it still wants to taxi like a jackrabbit. So I'm just kind of keep tapping my brakes here, keep us somewhat under control. And our whole purpose for coming here today is to get a cheeseburger. This is what you'd call probably about a $3,000 cheeseburger. But there's a little restaurant here called Lana's Cafe right on the field. And that's where we're going to eat today. So I'm just going to find us a place to park right here beside our cousin, the 208 Grand Caravan. Looks like this is definitely a Cessna friendly environment here. Parking next to that caravan, we don't want to clip her wings there. That ought to be about it right there. All right, let's set the brake. Brake set. And shutdown. Parking brake set. Let's get in here where we can see switches. Passenger safety. Come off with that. And recognition lights are off, nav lights are off, landing lights off. Leave the beacon on until we shut down the engine. And let's go ahead and ditch our avionics. And we want to go ahead and take these generators offline. Standby gyro we should cage, but it really won't let us. All we can do is adjust it, so no caging there. And let me get here where I can see our fuel cut off. Well, let's get up here where we can see it. There it is. So we'll go ahead and shut down. I need to pull the throttle back just a little more. A little more. All the way back. There we go. Okay, that shut them down. We'll leave our battery on until everything winds down. Make sure we don't have any fires. Here's some birds chirping. A lot of birds around this airport. We'll go ahead and shut off these panel lights while everything's winding down. And we can shut our beacon off. And let's get our battery. And it got nice and quiet there. I like it. I like it. Okay. Welcome to Bowerman. Let's get out of here and go check out. Our curtain got closed again. Let's go check it out. Got to get our door open. Oh, it's a little tight here, but we'll make it. We'll make it. We're gonna make it. Beautiful cabin. That's probably where a lot of our frame rates are. Okay, here we go. A little windy here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here on the Washington State Pacific Coast. Watch your step. Hear an airplane. And there's Lana's. And that's where we're going to eat. Some pretty good cheeseburgers in there. I can guarantee you there's somebody taking a picture of us. Not a bad parking job, all things considered. A little bit of luck probably involved in that, I will admit, because yeah, that was a little bit of nothing but dumb luck. But here we are, Washington. So the Cessna Citation S550 II, or S550 Citation II, I should say, or Citation S2. Seen it designated several different ways. It is a beautiful airplane. I got to give it high marks for just sheer beauty. Look at the rivets, and the textures are just awesome. Carenado gets a plus for that. You know, it is older technology. With all the whiz bang that the airplane has, there's still quite a bit of pilot load, and I think it does really need two pilots. And but you know, hey, I really like the fact that Carenado's doing some business jets now, and I hope that trend will continue. I hope that maybe Eaglesoft will upgrade their Citation, which is what their Citation 10, which is what we're going to fly next, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And then after the Citation 10, we'll be flying the Real Air turbine Duke, and I can't wait to fly that. That is a great airplane. I've heard lots of good things about it, and I have it in my hangar, and we're getting it ready for flight. But Citation 10 is next up, and it's the last plane we'll fly in this series on business jet. So hey, listen, thanks for joining me on this series, and one more jet to go, and then we'll be moving on back into some other airplanes, and we're going to be heading northward towards Alaska from here. And you know, the way I do, sometimes I get diverted and we do other things, but right now we're here in Washington, and we're going to hang out and go get us a hamburger. So thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next video from FS Mania. So long.
020 for you to come. 179, clear direct crater.
Direct crater, Delta 179.